Hello, my name is Rajesh Jha. I will be presenting on the topic computational design of alloy chemistry for optimizing multiple microscopic and microscopic properties. So this is me, Rajesh Jha, and he is my advisor, Professor George Dulikravich. My research interests include AI algorithms, Calcite approach, alloy design, nanotribology, physical and extractive metallurgy, and I have authored more than 30 publications on these type of topics. Currently, I'm a postdoctoral researcher at FIU, Miami, FLUSA, and we can be reached out at these email IDs. Regarding motivation, our main motivation include ICME approach and US government initiatives like ICME and MGI. My advisor, Professor Dulikravich, and co-workers have worked on several direct and inverse design problems involving several alloy systems since 2003. I have been personally involved in a few of them that I will present in this work. My main focus is my PhD thesis, that is hard nickel magnets, and I will also present a few other topics that are listed here. So first of all, AI algorithms. In our group, we work on a bunch of algorithms included under the framework of artificial intelligence. These include supervised, unsupervised, and also evolutionary and genetic algorithms. So main reason is because all more, as stated by statistician J.P. Box, essentially all models are wrong, but some are useful. This can be better explained through this table for hard electromagnetic alloys. So in this work, we had 8 alloying elements and 10 properties where we needed to optimize. That is, 8 of them are to be maximized and 2 of them needs to be minimized. When we went for first, we developed model through supervised machine learning algorithm, and we found that based on physical metallurgy of these type magnets and on the basis of error matrix, sometimes same models do not work for all of these properties. So we tried with a bunch of these algorithms, and the models that fitted these properties best are listed over here. From these two are our results from from these two figures. This is the distribution of iron and cobalt in the for 180 alloys manufactured in this work. So the work goes like this. Initially 80 alloys were manufactured. Of these 80 alloys, from these 80 alloys, we performed multi-objective design optimization, developed models, and then optimized these 10 properties. Optimized these 10 properties through these evolutionary genetic algorithms. So so in this case, this IOSO is a Russian optimization platform. This mode frontier is from Italy. Sobol algorithm is random generating sequence, and SM and hybrid are algorithm approaches from our other collaborators. So this is for alloying element distribution, and this is for property like coercivity and remanence. So BH max is the area under this curve. Any of under this, like 124, you can say that this area will be the BH max value. So from these two plots, one can see that from like this plot, initially most of the magnets were non-magnetic. So in order to, but through multiplicative design optimization, we were able to improve upon several properties for all these magnets, for magnets in the next iterations. So in this case, what we can observe here is that if we would have performed by conventional experimental approach, it would have been quite difficult to uh, obtain composition that that provided us with improved properties. Initially, compositions were like here, but the best alloys are in this region. So, in order to move from here to this region, and this is just for 2 elements, we had 8 elements. So, similar plots are available for all the 8 uh, cases. So, through multi-objective design optimization, we significantly improved upon properties in 3 to 4 set iterations. Just like I mentioned, we also worked, we also used unsupervised machine learning approaches like HCA. This is the hierarchical cluster analysis and principal component analysis. These are the 2 figures from here. MCDM means multi-criteria decision making. We have 10 properties and 8 alloying elements. When we optimize through evolutionary genetic algorithm, sometimes, like in this case, NSGA didn't work properly. Even sometimes SOBOL didn't work uh, as we expected. Sometimes adaptive space filler algorithm was better than SOBOL. So here NSGA, in some of the cases, MOPSO performed better. So the thing is that we tried with several approaches, and sometimes we get thousands or even hundreds of thousands of points, but we can manufacture only 5 to 10 of these alloys. So through these approaches, like how copper concentration or aluminum concentration affects the BH max or coercivity or any other properties, or also how these properties are correlated. These relations can be determined from the literature also. And just like we mentioned, we also used self-organizing maps. So from this figure, we can observe that just like here, BH max and BH max by mass. So both will be correlated because it is just a division of the BH max value. And from this figure also, we can see that both are adjacent to each other. Similarly, HC and JHC, JHC is inverse of HC. BR and MR are both remnants. So from SOM maps, we were able to observe correlations that can be verified from the literature. SOM maps was also used as a screening tool. So in this, all the 180 alloys are plotted on a 2-dimensional space where there are several hexagons. We can see these hexagons, and there is a square inscribed in each of these hexagons. So larger the square, that means that more candidates are on these adjacent vertices. If there is no square, means none of these 180 candidates were placed on the vertices of these hexagons. So in this work, we found that most of our best of the alloys, like we mentioned here, these 10 best alloys were all uh, in these 3 hexagons. So and when we observe from these 4 figures, we can see that all of them have highest value in these 3 hexagons. So in order to determine composition for these, that will lead us to improve properties, one can focus on these 3 hexagons and see what composition they will get that will lead them to improve properties. So in this work, what we observed that we were able to optimize 7 properties. We had a total of 10. So density was around average value. This one, which one? Just a minute. This cost was above average, and 1 MR was around average value. Otherwise, most of the properties were maximized, were optimized in this uh, hard magnetic alloys. So in this work, we can demonstrate the efficacy of using multi-objective design optimization in improving properties significantly by an order of magnitude. Like here, we can observe by an order of magnitude, we were able to improve upon the properties in a few iterations. That is extremely tough by conventional experimentation, because we have 8 different aligning elements and 10 different properties. So moving ahead, we have worked on nickel-based super alloys. Here, just like in this case, initially 80 alloys were manufactured. In this case, 120 alloys were manufactured. And through ISO algorithm, batches of 20 in each iteration, we produced 20 new alloys and manufactured and tested. Tests were performed at 975 degrees centigrade. Here, there were a total of 19 elements, of which 13 were identified as critical. 4 of them were fixed. Nickel was balanced. So 8 of these composition varied. And tests were performed at 975 degrees centigrade. The values measured were stress and time to rupture, and both are to be maximized. UNN, that is evolutionary neural network, and biometric genetic programming. These were not experimentally verified, but ISO was experimentally verified, and it was observed that there were few alloys candidates out of those 20 in each batch. Those outperformed the initial batch, like from 120, 20 more were manufactured out of like 4 or 5 of them. They were far better than initial 120. Similarly, in batches, we can see that a few of these alloys are better than all the alloys that are shown on this figure. So this is our work on soft magnetic alloys. So in this case, we used Calcite approach to develop uh, and perform heat treatment simulation, and then through those data we developed models through k nearest neighbor approach. And from here, our main purpose was to work on like in fine magnetic soft magnetic alloys, Fermat type alloys. Here radius must be between 5 to 7.5 nanometer, and volume fraction of magnetic phase Fe3Si must be above 70%. So alloy is Fe, Si, and B, Cu, and B. Fe and Si was varied through this parameter X. And temperature is the temperature of annealing, time is time of annealing. So from this figure, one can click on any one of these lines, and they will get that for a particular mean radius and volume fraction, they can see that what composition, temperature, and time will lead them to this mean radius and volume fraction. One of those alloys was manufactured and tested and characterized through atomic probe tomography. And then these are results from Calcite-based simulation. So thermocalc software was used. Thermocalc has a major problem in interface analysis. Sometimes it works properly, sometimes this value needs to be properly optimized in order to mimic the experiment. So in this work, what we can see that interfacial energy plays a this was the default interfacial energy, 0.64. Radius of copper cluster is quite large. Experimentally or from the literature, radius varies from 0 to 5 nanometer. So for 0.54 joule per meter square, we Calcite calculations, simulation calculations matches the APT results. So moving ahead from soft magnetic alloys, titanium-based alloys. Here our main purpose was to maximize Young's modulus and minimize density. We identified 3 temperature ranges, and in that we identified the phase that will lead us to, that will help, that is the stable phase in these temperature regimes, and also the average composition that will help us in achieving these Young's modulus and density. Moving ahead for titanium-based biomaterials, here our main purpose was to determine composition and temperature that will lead us to alloys that are where beta phase is fully stabilized, expected to be fully stabilized, and alloy must be like free from alpha double prime and omega phase. Omega phase is quite detrimental. Alpha double prime has shape memory effect, but for implants, it is important that the alloy must have fully stabilized beta phase. So these are the composition that we observed after analysis, Calcite and artificial intelligence approach. So here DLANN is deep learning artificial neural network, where we developed our own code using TensorFlow and Keras library in Python programming language. And we also worked on element scandium alloy. Here again DLANN and SOM approach. Through that we determined a few composition and performed solidification simulation, that is shield solidification simulation, and also heat treatment simulation and isothermal heat treatment simulation at various temperatures. Our main purpose was to study the nucleation and growth of Al3SC phase in aluminum-based system. So this was for 6X class of alloys. Here this was performed at here heat treatment nucleation site was in the bulk, and in this case nucleation site was in the was at the dislocations. This is our latest work on aluminum-based on AI-based prediction for nano indentation. So in a nano indentation test, after one performs nano indentation on any material, the machine generates data and stores it in .txt file format. This file contains information on indentation depth, and load displacement curve can be plotted from this text files. Also, machine generates AFM image, and data is stored in .hdf files. So through our platform, we can develop AI-based models that can be used as prediction tool for AFM and load displacement curve. So in this case, load was 2030 seconds for both AFM and pH curve. Here we can observe that experimental and predicted are almost quite similar. It is able to catch the trend, AI approach, and also this experimental and predicted. Now, predicting microstructure is quite difficult, but in this case, we can see that it almost looks similar. The morphology looks similar to the experimental result. There is slight variation in color, but most of the things are similar. So these are the references for all of this work, and just like we can be reached out at this email ID. This is phone number for my advisor. And so this is our work in the last 7-8 years. Thank you.